The M16A3 is the assault rifle that you tend to start with in combat arms. As a result, it's probably one of the weakest weapons in the entire game. Um, just to give you an idea, it has a 30 round clip and comes with 3 clips for a total of 90 rounds. Unless you're a really good player, it's very unlikely you're going to get through those 90 rounds anyways. The damage is extremely low, so that it's going to take at least 5 or 6 rounds that actually come in contact with an enemy to actually kill them. As a result, it does have automatic and burst settings. One recommendation is to set it on burst, and then in that case, 2 connecting bursts should kill an enemy at 100 HP, not factoring in vests or other factors. The rate of fire is fairly slow, but there are slower ones. The recoil and spread is pretty bad as well, so you have to be very careful on how you're going to use it. The accuracy is not that bad, actually, considering it's a default weapon. So if you're very careful, you actually might get some medium to long range shots with this thing, even without a scope. The portability is probably about average for an assault rifle. The M16A3 usage, really you need to superior tactics if you're going to get any kills. You're pretty much going to lose out any player that's of decent skill with any other gun. However, a few ideas would be, one, would be to try to target for headshots and nut shots. One bullet's going to kill regardless of what gun you have in that case, so you might aim higher towards the neck, or lower for that matter. You might assist a teammate with a kill. That way their entire focus of the enemy's fire is not necessarily going to be on you. Surprising an enemy at the hit towards the back will. However, given the inferiorness of the gun, you have to be very careful about that. You could still land 3 or 4 bullets, and all they have to do is turn around and give one burst with their gun, and you'd be dead all the same. In conclusion, with the M16A3, I do recommend some time with it. If you can get fairly decent with an M16A3, you can pretty much master any other gun. So basically, if you're doing pretty well with a kill to death ratio with the M16, you excel with any other gun. Also, it can give you an insight into superior tactics. Anytime you're forced to use the M16, whether there's rules of the server or whatnot. In addition, you tend to teach yourself superior tactics when you're dealt with an inferior weapon. The M92FS is the default starting handgun and secondary weapon in combat arms. It doesn't suffer some of the other problems that other default weapons might have. It's got decent fire rate, portability, and spread. The damage is fairly low. You can only take out the target in 4 to 5 rounds. Considering it's just single fire, though, the rate of fire is pretty good, so you're not going to have a problem with that. The accuracy is not too bad either, so it's a pretty good starting handgun. But it's got a faster reload as well, and the accuracy even at a medium range isn't too bad. So being able to get those headshots isn't too difficult. The big thing is, just like with any other handgun, you probably just going to want to use it in close range. You do 15 round capacity, and you've got 30 rounds total, so you've got that second reload if you need it. You may use it all up if you try to just fire every round you can at an enemy, but other than that, no, not too bad of a weapon. With the M92FS, the key here is to usually get the drop on somebody if you can, or to aim for the headshots, so aiming for the upper chest and the neck's not a bad idea. There are better handguns, although if you're strictly in a handgun battle, you're not going to do too badly with the M92, since it's fairly balanced on the lower end of side weapon. You're not going to feel as lost as you are with the default weapons. There are a number of variants for going up in rank, which I think actually improve the gun, but not really anything to concern yourself with now. Overall, in conclusion, the weapon isn't too bad for a default handgun. In fact, there's a lot of people who never go to any other handgun throughout their careers. The M67 fragmentation grenade is the default sport gear weapon for new players to combat arms. And in fact, for a lot of people, it tends to remain one of the most used weapons in the game. It's just it's basically just a single fragmentation grenade. Anything within its basic radius of a couple of steps from it will be killed instantly. It does 100 HP of damage, so it's very unlikely for anything to survive it. Its second ring of damage, which is probably about, let's say, at least 5 steps away from the blast, does about 85, so you can take out most targets with that as well, or at least severely damage them. And there's a third ring, it's probably about 10 steps away, it's to do somewhere between 5 and 20 damage. However, outside of that, you can clearly see the rings of damage when the grenade explodes, so you get the idea of where each of the radiuses are. As a result, you'll know how far you really need to get from a grenade. There's no way to, as far as I can tell, to stop one from exploding. Using it is pretty much, takes a lot of practice. If you've thrown grenades in other games, knowing how to properly throw a window or a hole is going to make you a lot more effective at using the weapon. You typically want to throw it where your enemies are going to be, that way you can maximize your kill to death ratio with it. It can also be a good weapon to just throw down as you're running and being chased, or you can simply use it as essentially a suicide bomber. Once you've dropped it, it will explode when you're dead. A lot of enemies will try to pick up your weapons or confirm that you're dead and not necessarily notice a grenade as it takes them with you. So pretty much, you know, that's one of those weapons you just simply have to get good with on your own. The M9 combat knife is your default starting melee weapon for combat arms. For a lot of people, they actually never change out of the melee weapons, or it's probably the last consideration when they do. The damage on it is probably the lowest of all the melee weapons, so you're going to get 2 if not 3 stabs in before you kill a target. Although the portability is actually pretty good, so that way you're going to be running pretty fast with it. That's actually a common tactic to switch to the combat knife when you have to run and get out of there. Aside from when you're only going to be on melee weapon only servers, you probably won't use the knife too much except to make a quiet kill, since there's no fire or muzzle flash or any other signs. Usually a quick kill into the back isn't going to be noticed except by the victim. It's also usually a very humiliating way to die, so it's a good way to silence people that have a big mouth.